We've all had to take action to slow the spread of COVID-19 and to protect our people. And as we continue to fight this virus, we also can't forget that climate change still remains one of the greatest challenges of our time. And in fact, COVID-19 and the climate crisis have a lot in common.
The general rule of thumb that I believe everybody should adopt is that if any problem is being presented as a global crisis, then it is a scam.
As a global community, we're challenged by urgent and looming crises. Will we work together to save lives, defeat COVID-19? Will we meet the threat of the challenging climate we're all feeling, already ravaging every part of our world? That's the idea behind the Build Back Better world.
This global pandemic has also created an opportunity to build back better, and climate action is an essential part of that.
We can build back better from this pandemic by building back greener.
Here we are now with an economy in crisis, but with an incredible opportunity, not just to build back to where we were before, but better, stronger, more resilient, and more prepared for the challenges that lie ahead. And there's no more consequential challenge that we must meet in the next decade than the onrushing climate crisis.
Right now, all of our countries are dealing with the health and economic impacts of the global pandemic. But as we look to rebuilding from this crisis, we must do so in a way that will build back better for all of our citizens. And that must include an ambitious plan to take strong action against climate change.
We want to build back better from the pandemic, and I think that this is the right moment there for us all to focus on the other great natural challenge about which we've been warned time and time again. We can't ignore it. The warnings have been even clearer than they were for COVID, and that is the problem of climate change.
This pandemic has taught us the importance of global cooperation, and we must translate that lesson to how we deal with the climate crisis. This pandemic reminds us of what we can achieve through collaboration. We came together, countries, communities, and neighbors, to work for our collective safety and well-being. That's a lesson we need to apply to the climate crisis.
The pattern that we are confronted with is really the fabrication of global crises. The presentation either of non-existent problems or small local problems as being general global crises. That fabrication followed by the assertion that the only solutions that are permissible are global ones that require a global authority, global control. That is the general pattern that we are up against. The COVID policy response was one of those. Look at what happened to countries like Sweden or Tanzania, who tried to push back against the orthodoxy, the new orthodoxy. And the climate crisis, the climate change crisis, is another example where we are told that the biggest threat to the world is this molecule, CO2, and that an increase in the level of this molecule will cause an increase in temperature, and that temperature increase will be bad for us, and that the only thing we can do is consume fewer fossil fuels and less energy. That's fitting the pattern exactly. The other things you can observe is, instead of presenting science as an ongoing, evolving activity, it is presented in terms of static knowledge, consensus. And you see the cancellation and censorship of dissident voices rather than engagement with them. These patterns are proof of a scam. That is what people need to understand. Whenever something is presented as the science, as a consensus, it is a scam. You do not have to go and get engaged in all of the minutiae of the scientific principles and the models and the measurements at all. You can know with absolute certainty that you are dealing with a scam when dissent is suppressed.